Mr. Chairman. You're welcome. Thank you. Senator Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and Mr. Goffman. Congratulations on your nomination here. I just came from a Commerce Committee meeting where I was fairly riled up because I was highlighting the Biden administration's now it's 25 executive orders and executive actions singularly focused on Alaska. 25. These hurt jobs, resource development, access to land. Particularly, they target the Native community. Your former and current boss, Gina McCarthy, is someone who's got enormous disdain for my state. I've seen it in action. Senator Murkowski, the late, great Congressman Don Young, and I had a senior meeting at the White House in December saying, can you please just let up, guys? You're killing us. Targeting my state, our state. How about at least a heads up when you're going to try to crush us the next time? They haven't kept those commitments. These are very senior White House officials. We asked for a meeting with the president, see if he knows that his administration is singularly targeting one state more than any other state in the country. Can I get your commitment if you're confirmed that before you issue any kind of reg or rule or executive action from your position that singularly targets Alaska, that you'll reach out to me and Senator Murkowski and maybe get our views, maybe get our opinions? I was just home last week, and my constituents are just, and this is Democrats, Republicans, Native, non-Native, we are just daily assault on the good people. We're Americans too, right? But nobody in the Biden administration seems to care. Can I get your commitment to give me and Senator Murkowski a heads up if you're planning to do something like this?
Senator, I think I can say that the Environmental Protection Agency has experience looking at Alaska issues specifically and, if you will, tailoring the requirements of our actions that work for Alaska.
So that's a yes?
It's a yes, not just informing, but consulting.
Good, thank you. I want to show you this real quick. I use this chart a lot. That's emissions, global emissions from each major country in the world since 2005. The U.S. has actually been the global leader on reducing greenhouse gas emissions. You look at China, you look at India, they're through the roof. Do you have an explanation for that? You think it's EPA regulations that did that? It wasn't, was it? Well, what's the reason for that? Why are we the best in the world right now on global emissions almost for the last over 15 years?
I think because of the sort of fruitful interaction of EPA standard setting and the results.
No, it had very little to do with the EPA. It was a revolution in the production of natural gas, right? You might want to read up on that since you're going to be in charge of air. That's why, right there. So when you hear about, hey, let's attack natural gas, you might want to think twice. If every country in the world had that global emissions profile, we wouldn't be having major greenhouse gas emissions problems globally. So just wanted you to be aware of that. But it wasn't the EPA, right? It was the revolution in natural gas by the private sector and ingenuity of the American entrepreneur. Let me go into the next very important issue. You believe in the rule of law, I assume?
Yes.
You were at the Harvard Environmental Energy and Law program, so I'm assuming you really believe in the rule of law.
Trying to overcome it, but yes.
Yeah, I'm sure you are. It's tough. I don't blame you, though. How about this issue? EPA gets all of its authority from what body to act?
I think right here.
Exactly. Right? You used to work here, right? EPW committee. So you understand the EPA cannot act without congressional authority. Isn't that correct?
That's my understanding.
So that's something you'll commit to, correct? That goes back to the rule of law.
And it goes back to the Clean Air Act.
Correct. But you won't act without clear congressional authority, correct?
We act according to what our best understanding.
These are really easy questions.
Yes.
You need to just say yes. Thank you. Let me raise one issue. It wasn't you, but you worked for at the time. This was the Michigan versus EPA case where the Supreme Court, 6-3, by the way, said EPA strayed well beyond the bounds of reasonable interpreting in concluding that cost is not a factor relevant to the appropriateness of the regulation of power plants. You're familiar with that case, right?
I am familiar with that.
Okay, because weren't you part of the individuals who put together that rule?
Yes, I was.
And are you familiar with the famous, again, unbelievable statement by current climate czar Gina McCarthy on the Bill Maher show right before the Supreme Court decision came down? She said, quote, "But even if we don't win, it's been on the books for 3 years, so most power plants are already in compliance. Investments have been made," unquote. To me, that was one of the most lawless things I've ever seen a senior administration official say. That's when she was the EPA administrator. To me, that's regulatory extortion. Hey, we'll crush or we'll put out rules, and heck, even if they're not legal, it doesn't matter because these poor suckers have to comply with it anyways. Can you explain, do you agree with that statement by Gina McCarthy? And can you commit to me to not be so flippant with the whole issue of the rule of law and the statutory mandates from Congress? That statement to me still to this day stands out as one of the most just blatant, arrogant, lawless statements I've ever seen from a senior official who's supposed to serve the people and abide by the rule of law.
Senator, I'm not familiar with that statement.
What I just quoted is true.
Okay,
Do you agree with her statement?
I'd have to. I don't know. I'm still processing it. It's the first time I've heard it. But I do agree, and I am committed to ensure that any action the Office of Air and Radiation takes is entirely authorized by the law, not only by what Congress wrote in the Clean Air Act, but what the courts tell us, the exact contours and limits and scope of our authority is.
Great. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
You're welcome.